Due to some violent content, parental discretion is advised.
Stream of magic, he serves a ring of Saturn and lots of shooting stars. And you know the ship is inside the car. UFOs coming, aliens go, but me with time forever. I take a tell, so just find you with hero eye in the sky.
UFOs come and aliens go, but mutants are forever. Happy Halloween, my fellow mutants. This is Strebo returning for another edition of Indie Film Reviews. I want to keep the old positive train rolling. There are so many negatives happening out there in pop culture. Every day we have the art that we once loved trying to tear down its own audience. And we have the dumbest fans of every franchise out there attacking the other fans. Strongest elements of fandom. Attack fellow fans, attack the creators, attack the work itself. Something I've been tired of watching for a long, long time. Offering an informed critique is one thing, but these kind of pointless attacks are just that. They're pointless. So let's talk about some positives. So in order to do that, I've been holding off on checking out the final trailer for Dr. Sleep. I'm a long-time fan of Stanley Kubrick's The Shining. I'd like to tell you I read the book by Stephen King, but I never got around to it. I have it on my shelf of stuff that I want to read, but the film version, despite Stephen King changing his stance on it several times, has always just been a real masterpiece to me. I mean, it's an amazing film. I've seen it in so many formats, whether it was on HBO when I was a kid, rent it on VHS, bought it on DVD, bought it on Blu-ray, which looks absolutely pristine, and have seen it in the theater for retro revival screenings in both 35mm and in new digital prints. So every time I see it in a new format, it's a revelation for me. So Dr. Sleep as a film has an uphill battle in that it has to live up to the expectations of a sequel, but the one thing it cannot do is it cannot tarnish the memory or the story that came before it. So let's take a look at this. Right away, mimicking Kubrick's opening shots of the landscape. They've got those helicopter shots of the family as they travel to the Overlook Hotel. I like it.
When I was a kid, there was a place.
I remember hearing that just kind of out of nowhere that Stephen King had written a sequel to Dr. Sleep. I mean, it was just like, Dr. Sleep is out, and it's a sequel to The Shining. I was just like, no way, are you freaking kidding me? So, of course, I have this book on my shelf of stuff to read, but I guess that means I have to read The Shining first and then read Dr. Sleep. Yeah, I'll watch the movie first because reading the source material can really, really color your expectations going into something, going into an adaptation.
A dark place. They closed it down.
A lot of one-shot perspectives. Here we see recreations of all those old sets from Kubrick's The Shining, which, mind you, these are all recreations. I mean, as far as I know, the only thing that still exists is the actual hotel that was used for the exteriors. I'm not sure how much of the interiors were used there. I'm not that much of a Kubrick historian, but I do know when Kubrick would finish his films, he would usually have props, sets, all that kind of stuff destroyed so that people couldn't come behind him and build on his work. They were going to have to rebuild it from scratch.
Let it rot.
Oh, there's the door. That final scene to The Shining, it still just ranks as one of the most intense and scariest scenes in all of cinema. Just truly great horror filmmaking. It's the pinnacle. It's up there with all the greatest, with all the best of the genre. And when I first saw The Shining, I actually watched it in pieces on HBO because I would always turn it on. You'd hear about how scary it was, and this is me as a little kid. I would flip it on and be like, well, what's this? Well, it's The Shining. You'd watch it for about 5 minutes, and something crazy would be happening, like where he meets the crazy old decrepit witch lady in room 237, or where Jack Torrance is chasing Danny through the frozen garden at the end. All that kind of stuff. I would always flip on some of the most intense scenes, and I'd be like, I can't watch this movie. I can't take it. And I'd just flip it back to Teen Wolf instead.
But the things that live there,
The girls look a little bit different. I'm a mark for anything that means I'm a super fan. I'm an easy sell for anything that builds on the past. I love direct sequels. I love them. Yes, they can get repetitive. Yes, they can be derivative. Yes, they can begin to feel very, very unoriginal. But as long as they offer something new, they build on the past of what's come before, and still offer you stakes that you're willing to get interested in, I can usually go along for the ride. So I just love that they're recreating all of these old shots and the classic tableaus and images from Stanley Kubrick's film.
they come back.
Not many ride the bus this far north. You're running away from something?
I'm running away from myself, I guess.
I guess question for people that have read the novel, why is it called Dr. Sleep? Is that the name of the Danny Torrance character? Is that the name of his shining spirit that follows him around? I have no idea.
You can hear me. You're magic. Like me.
I don't know about magic. I always called it The Shining.
The Shining. Here we go. I love that they're able to use actual footage from the original Shining. I'm such a mark for this. But I'm going to tell you what, my expectations are going to be raised so much going into this that I can only be disappointed. So I've got to try to keep my expectations under control, be willing to suspend my disbelief going into this, not let my over-familiarity with the original film hamper my experience of Dr. Sleep. There's the infamous room 237.
The world is a hungry place. A dangerous place.
Now, I don't know what these people are. They look like spirit vampires or something to that effect. I mean, at least from what we're seeing in the trailer, they don't at all look intimidating or scary. So, yeah, hopefully there's more to it than what we're seeing in the trailer, like something monstrous and horrific or terrifyingly beautiful.
These people, they hurt people like us.
These empty devils.
There's some of that original music. What was that composer's name? Wendy something or other. I think she was actually, or they were a transgender individual back in the day. And that original score for The Shining is as an important piece of the film as anything else. Like so many great films, whether they're action, adventure, horror, fantasy, a truly great score can help elevate it just that much more. So I wonder if they have new compositions from that composer, or if they're being allowed to use the original works.
They'll eat what shines. And they've noticed that little girl.
Now, is he supposed to be the caretaker from the first Shining? I thought he actually got killed. Didn't Jack Torrance run up and hit him with the axe? Or am I misremembering that?
Well, hi there.
Get out of my head! Get out!
I haven't felt power like that in so long.
They're coming. Where are we going?
Aside from using the evil white chick in a hat trope, using evil white ladies as their main antagonist, so far everything about this just looks tremendous. It looks incredible. I'm all in at this point.
The There's a place. You sure you want to do this?
I'm ready. Yes, you're right.
Restaging all the classic sequences. You know, I mean, this is the kind of thing I'll go into it and I'll love it because it'll hit all the right beats for me, and then I'll come out of it and I'll start telling, you know, quote unquote horror fans about it, and they'll just be like, I just hated it. That movie was so stupid. The acting was so bad. Yeah, it was blah blah blah. And it's like all these intangible elements that they somehow use to color the entire experience, and they didn't actually watch anything that was on the screen. That's what always happens to me. It's like every time I think, well, man, I discovered this great film. People will love it. It's so original. They're like, no, we hated that.
And then I will find you, and you will scream for years.
Scary White Lady is not scary. That is a common critique you will hear here on the Indie Film Reviews. Whether it's Harley Quinn, Alice from Batwoman, White Lady in a Hat from Dr. Sleep. Scary white ladies are not scary. All they need is a good B-slap to set them down. Yeah, I said it. That's what it was developed for.
Come and play with us forever and ever.
I mean, I reserve the right to B-slap a scary white lady. If she's trying to, like, steal my soul, I would have to smack her, you know. Those are, that would stand up in a court of law, right? That's self-defense, right? I think so.
Come and play with us forever and ever.
You sure you want to do this?
I'm ready. Yes, you run, dear. And then I will find you, and you will scream for years.
Come and play with us forever and ever.
Okay, I've just got to say, based on this final trailer, my expectations are definitely at an all-time high. I think this looks great. It looks like it pays respects to and homages Stanley Kubrick's classic film, his adaptation of The Shining. Stephen King has gone out of his way to say that it's not a proper adaptation. But, I tried to watch the TV adaptation of The Shining. It was just awful. So it's like, what can you do? You have one that works for an author that nobody else cares about, and then you have one that the author doesn't like that is a more effective cinematic experience. So what can you do? But as far as Dr. Sleep goes and the final trailer, I'm hyped for it. I want to see it. I want to check it out. I want to see how it plays out, how it ties into the original film. And hopefully it builds a little bit on that original storyline and those narratives without ruining everything. No midichlorians, please. We don't need to discover the midichlorians of Redrum. Let's leave some things unanswered. Now, Stephen King knows all of those things. He knows not to explain everything. He's great at leaving things totally unexplained. So hopefully the filmmakers use his book as a blueprint and a guideline, and they don't put any stupid explanations into it that aren't needed. So anyway, there you go. Happy Halloween, happy Strebo-ween to you. I hope you've enjoyed the content we've been putting out. Hope you enjoyed our little trip to the movies to check out Rob Zombie's 3 from Hell. Be sure to download and listen to not only the MVP Mutant Radio pre-Halloween show, but our crossover episode with Exploited Cinema, where we did a Halloween episode, and we did a special commentary track for Panos Cosmatos' Mandy, starring Nicolas Cage, which if you have not seen it, that's my recommendation for you. Go check it out and then watch it with our commentary. This is Strebo. Thanks for listening. Give this video a like. Subscribe to the channel. Join me over on Twitter. Find us on Facebook. Do all that stuff. Do all the things. and your life will be that much richer for it. See you next time. Happy Halloween.